Welcome to this Information Day, fully dedicated to the second call to support the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. The Collaborative Cloud is the flagship initiative of Horizon Europe to help the cultural heritage sector take full advantage of the opportunities of the digital transition. The cloud, when implemented, will help bring a new dimension into the work amongst Europe's research organizations and cultural heritage institutions. This will open new avenues for research, for collaboration, and for innovation. Today, there will be an in-depth presentation of the 5 call topics that will open on the 18th of June. This is the largest of the 3 planned cloud calls, with a total budget of 48 million. It follows the first 35 million euro collaborative cloud call of 2023, which aimed at setting up the basic platform and governance. The first project just started activities. A third call will be launched later on, focused on supporting the end-to-end testing of the platform. Under the call we present today, there will be many possibilities to propose innovative tools and methods for the cloud. You will have the possibility to ask questions that my colleagues will do their best to answer. I would encourage you to take this opportunity. In addition, you can also ask questions later on through your national contact point or through the Research Inquiry Service of the European Commission's website. Also, you are cordially invited to the dedicated Cluster 2 brokerage platform, which will facilitate the search of suitable partners to build strong project proposals. With these words, I wish you a nice and productive day, and I hand over the floor to my colleague Francisco de la Torre, who will moderate the session.
Very good morning to all of you following us live today on Friday, 14th of June, or maybe following and watching us later on through the recording of this session, Info Day of the second call of the European Collaborative Cultural Heritage Cloud. Many thanks also to Arin Norsted, Director for People, Health and Society, and the Director General for Research and Innovation in the European Commission. My name is Francisco de la Torre. I'm the Deputy Head of the Unit Democracy, Equality and Culture in DG RTD, DG Research and Innovation, European Commission also. And I'm going to be moderating this session, Info Day, on the second call 2024 of the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. The purpose of the Info Day will be to introduce to you the research topics that will be part of this second call and will be open for application pretty soon, now in mid-June, and also provide you with the replies, the answers to the questions you may have, be it on the substance of the topics, be it also on the practicalities around the application process, evaluation, etc. For this purpose, we count on the expertise and knowledge of 2 colleagues from the European Commission and from the Research Executive Agency, Ricard Busk and Cécile Meret-Tremonchot. I will introduce them to you in a moment. But for the questions that you may have to reach us, we need you to connect through Slido, join with us and connect with us through Slido, and using the code, the hashtag that you see in the screens, ECCCH. There you can type your questions and we will receive them and go through them, provide you with the questions as far as we can later on in the session today. Without further ado, let's go then first in the substance of the call, in the 5 topics that are going to be open now in mid-June. For this, we have with us Ricard Busk, Policy Officer in DG RTD, in our unit, Democracy, Equality and Culture. He's the expert voice, the wise voice that is going to guide you through the content of the 5 topics.
Thank you very much, Paco, for the floor. And what I will do for the coming 15 minutes, more or less, is I will try to give you an overview of the context and of the call topics of this 2024 call to support the establishment of the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. Let's start with the vision and the goals of this initiative. The European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage is in fact the flagship initiative of Horizon Europe to support the cultural heritage sector to make the most of the digital transition that we are all part of. This collaborative cloud platform should facilitate the co-creation and the reuse of data. It should open up new possibilities for research and for innovation, and it should support cooperation with the cultural and creative industries, among many other things. The platform should also be inclusive, and it should include and involve small and rural institutions, and it has to be designed to be sustainable in the long term, allowing for continuous improvement cycles during its lifetime. Therefore, it will be designed for cross-disciplinary collaboration within the cultural heritage sector. It will enable to safely share and store and protect digital cultural heritage objects under EU legislation, and it should be offer powerful and also easy to use tools that respond to the needs of cultural heritage professionals and researchers, and this is what this call is about. With this, let's move to the next slide. There is, you could say, a three-phase plan to support the establishment of the collaborative cloud through Horizon Europe. The 2023 call supports the establishment of the basic architecture and of the governance of the entire development initiative, including central coordination of all projects which are funded under the following calls. Now, the 2024 call, which will open next week, is the second phase of these three phases. The aim here is to support the development of a set of user tools for the cloud platform, which should make it accessible and useful to its end users. Let's move on to the following slide. We could say then that the purpose of this call is to make the cloud platform attractive and user-friendly in order to create the necessary conditions for a wide adoption and a virtuous dynamic of the platform. This is to say that the projects that will be funded from this call will have an absolutely essential role to achieve the overall goals of the cloud initiative. Now let's move on to the actual call topics, starting with the next slide. Based on 10 basic tool areas or needs that we identified and validated in a stakeholder survey in the autumn 2022, we propose 5 call topics which together will address these 10 areas. So our belief is that if we can implement tools and methods that correspond to these 10 areas, the purpose of the call should be achieved. Now let's move on to the first topic in the next slide. Here we want to support the development of innovative tools for digitization and analysis of dynamic processes and to handle complex combined data. These tools and methods should provide solutions for at least 3 uses. One is the advanced digitization of dynamic objects, which means moving or intended for movement. Second is to monitor the evolving status of heritage objects over time, both quick instantaneous event and longer-term changes such as environmental degradation or similar. And the third is interacting with and mixing different data types to understand and illustrate dynamic changes of and movements. The foreseen budget for this call topic is 12 million euros, and with this budget we hope to fund 2 projects. Let's move on to the second topic. Here, with the second topic, we want to support the development of innovative tools for documenting, interlinking and organizing data, which are indeed very important features of the cloud platform. These tools and methods should provide solutions for at least 2 uses. One is to create, enrich and refine bibliographies, contributing to semi-automatize this process and to share and build on other person's work. And the second is to properly document the results of field work, such as archaeological or paleontological excavations, in an enriching and semi-automatic way. For this topic, the budget foreseen is 8 million euros, and again, we hope to fund 2 projects with this budget. Let's move on to the third topic. Here, we want to support the development of innovative tools for advanced data enrichment. These tools and methods should provide solutions for at least 3 uses. One is for metadata enrichment in a semi-automatic way. The second is to embed scientific and professional value, as well as intellectual property and other rights, in the digital objects on the cloud platform, so that all interactions, improvements, changes with each object is properly recorded. And the third is to enable new collaboration and business models which are based on this multi-actor value chain that will be embedded in the digital objects on the cloud platform. The foreseen budget for this topic is 12 million euros, and with this budget we hope to fund 2 projects. Now for the fourth topic. Here we want to support the development of innovative tools for interaction with visitors and heritage objects. These tools and methods should provide solutions for at least 2 uses. One is to create, to share and reuse interactive content, such as, for example, interactive exhibits. And the second is to analyze, simulate, design, test and follow up interactions with visitors. The foreseen budget for this topic is 8 million euros, and again we hope to fund 2 projects with this budget. And let's move to the fifth and last of the topics of this call, which is intended to support the development of innovative tools for the study, the conservation and restoration of heritage objects. These tools and methods should provide solutions for at least 2 uses based on the digital twins of heritage objects that will be stored on the cloud platform. One is to support the study of heritage objects, enabling deep insights based on detailed and interlinked information to each digital object. And the second is to support planning, preparation and also follow-up of conservation and restoration work. The foreseen budget for this topic is 8 million euros, which we hope will fund 2 projects. With this, let's move on to the following slide, illustrating that there are a number of conditions and particularities which apply to all 5 call topics of this call. Some of them are listed on this slide, but there are more and also more detail provided in the topics themselves. I know that it can sometimes be tricky to find everything on the web portal, but please make sure that you do, because it is very important to consider all these conditions and particularities. To mention some, all topics are lump sum topics, which you should take into account when you develop your proposal. All topics allow for third-party funding, or cascade funding, as often called. This is a possibility. It is allowed. It is not obligatory. And it is something that you may want to use if you see an added value for this in your particular proposal. The software developed under all topics must be open source, and it must also comply with the standards and definitions developed by the cloud platform projects, which are currently under development. We expect a wide user engagement under all projects, both in developing the tools and methods, but also in testing and refining and validating the resulting applications. Projects funded under the same topic as I mentioned, there will in many cases be 2 projects under each topic, are expected to coordinate in order to ensure synergies and complementarities between them. And all projects must coordinate with the so-called platform project of the initiative, which will run the governance of the entire initiative. And I think it's important not to forget the context. This is an initiative that will consist of, in total, of around 20 projects, and all of these projects will need to contribute together to create a really good platform. With this, let's move on to the following slide to highlight some information and resources that could be helpful, I believe. First, I'd like to mention that the so-called platform projects, which I've mentioned a couple of times already, called ECCCCH, has facilitated an email address that applicants to the 2024 call can use to contact the project in case of interest. The website of this project is not published yet, it is not ready yet, but it should be published sometime after the summer this year, well in time before the call deadline of the 2024 call. The second thing I'd like to highlight is that we have put together a website with official information and resources about the collaborative cloud from the European Commission, which may be useful for you. And the third point is that in order to dive deeper into the rationale behind the cloud platform, you may want to consult the expert report that was published in the spring 2022 and that you can find a link to on this slide. Fourth point is that in March last year, we organized an online event about the collaborative cloud directed towards the future users of the platform. In the recording of this event, you can see and hear about what you may call the political rationale behind the initiative from our then Commissioner Maria Gabriel and also the Member of Parliament Christian Ehler, among others. And last but not least, you're all warmly invited to register to become members of the user community. In this way, you will make sure to always receive the latest information about the European Collaborative Cloud from the European Commission. With this, I thank you warmly for your attention, and I hand the floor back to Paco.
Thank you very much, Rikard, for this packed overview of the 5 topics of the 2024 call. I am sure the viewers, potentially interested applicants, may have already some questions. I remind them that they have at their disposal a Slido where they can connect and through the hashtag ECCCH send to us their questions that we'll be tackling in a little while. Let me also remind them, as Rikard, you already did, that the key source of information for the preparation of the applications are the 5 topics as they are presented in the Work Programme 23-24 of Horizon Europe, Cluster 2, where we have all the detailed explanations on the topics, but we are certainly here also in a moment to try to reply to their questions. And now indeed we are moving then to some more practical information, the tips and tricks for applicants. For this, as I already mentioned, we count on the expertise of Cécile Ménétré-Monchot, Research Program Manager and Call Coordinator in the Research Executive Agency. Cécile.
Yes, good morning to all and thank you for joining us. So as Francisco was explaining, I'm a call coordinator for amongst other Cluster 2 calls, including, of course, the cloud call. So my role today will be to offer a few tips and tricks and practical suggestions of how to submit and design your proposals. Next slide, please. First of all, let's start with a few call documents that you should read before you start designing your proposal and applying. First of all, you should be familiar with the Horizon Europe Cluster 2 work program, obviously, which my colleague Rikard has just presented, or at least in bullet points, the main lines of. This will explain the background to this call, the topics, so the 5 topics and their related budgets, as well as all the admissibility, eligibility details that you will need to bear in mind when you design your proposal. Secondly, also become familiar with the general annexes of the work program. So this will provide you with the list of countries that are eligible for funding, all the eligibility and admissibility conditions, then the award criteria and the procedure for evaluations. And finally, you will also receive or find some information on scoring and thresholds. And we've provided here the links to these documents. Just to anticipate any question that you may have related to this, we will make this presentation available to you publicly so that you will have also all the links embedded in this presentation, which will be active, and you will be able to follow them and find all these documents easily. Thirdly, you should also be familiar with the submission forms and templates, obviously. And here I would just like to point out that the submission forms and templates that you will use should be taken from the application, from the Funding and Tenders portal application page for this call, because there are some slight variations sometimes between submission forms and templates. So make sure that you use the ones that will be available when this call opens, so on the 18th of this month, 18th of June. Make sure that you use the templates and forms that are on the page for the cloud call. Thirdly, I also recommend that you become familiar with the Horizon Europe Program Guide, which offers background information on the structure and also the political priorities behind Horizon Europe. This will be important for you to get, let's say, a broader picture of Horizon Europe in general, and of course this would be useful also for Cluster 2 and the cloud. Next slide, please. Now, just a few words about the application form itself. So your application, your proposal will be designed as follows. First of all, there will be a Part A, which consists of web-based forms. So you will be, when you access the application page online, you will be asked to provide information on the participants. So the coordinator for one, and the other participants who will be forming the consortium. All of this is provided online and is then compiled into what we call a Part A, which then becomes part of the proposal. So this is not a document that you upload. This is data that you enter directly into the application forms online. Part B is a narrative part. So it's really the narrative part of your proposal. This will be uploaded as a PDF document on the application page. It includes 3 sections that each correspond to an evaluation criterion. So there will be excellence, impact, and implementation. Each will correspond to also to a part of your proposal. And as Ricard just mentioned, there's a specificity to the call requirement here. Usually for innovation actions, the page limit is 50 pages, but in this case, because it's a lump sum, there will be, the maximum page number will be 60 pages for your Part B. Do make sure that you stick to this maximum, because any pages beyond the 60-page limit will be blanked out and will not be made available to the experts. So please make sure that everything fits within 60 pages. And here I also want to draw your attention to the fact that there are rules on how to present your proposal, your Part B, in terms of font and format and layout. Please try to, well, do stick to these layout rules, because we will ask you to reformat if we find that you do not comply with these requirements. So please make sure that your proposal is compliant. Because these are lump sum topics and therefore lump sum proposals, there will be a mandatory detailed budget table which you will need to upload with your proposal. This is an eligibility criterion as well for your proposal, so please don't forget to do so. A template is provided online, so you should download it, fill it in, and upload it again with your proposal once it's filled in. And again, this is mandatory, which means that if you do not submit this, your proposal will not be eligible. One last thing, there is also a form for the support to third parties. this is an additional document that you will need to provide as well with your application. And there's finally just a detail on the reimbursement ceiling for innovation actions. So it can be 70% or 100%, depending on the organization type. So if we're talking about profit or non-profit. Next slide, please. So once the application page will be open, which will happen on the 18th of June, the coordinator will create the draft proposal starting from the topic page after choosing the final type of action. So of course the type of action here are all innovation actions, but you will need to choose the topic that you are most interested in. Once the coordinator has prepared this first or has created this draft proposal, partners will be invited by the coordinators. It's the coordinator who will edit all the sections, and the participants can only edit their own section. Excuse me. And then the upload of the Part B of the detailed budget table of the form on support to third parties, all of this will have to be uploaded directly by the coordinator. So only the coordinator will have the access rights to do so. One little tip here, which sounds obvious, of course there is a deadline, so you have plenty of time to prepare your application. The deadline is the 22nd of January 2025, so quite some time. But every year we do have applicants who miss the deadline because, of course, we know how much time and effort it takes to design these proposals. And here I would really like to stress that please do not leave it to the last minute, even though you have all these months to prepare the proposal. Please do not leave it to the last minute to upload and submit your proposal. A little tip here is that you can submit your proposal as many times as you need. So even if it's not finished, you can submit it. Each time you want to rework it, you can resubmit and it will overwrite the previous version. So don't take any risks, please submit. You can always come back to it and rework it later. So as I said, submit the first version as early as possible. And of course, no later than 48 hours before the deadline to avoid any technical issues. Now, there are a lot of people who connect to the application webpage in the last hours. And of course, this means that the system might be, might have struggled, let's say, with all this interest and all the data that it will need to be handling in the last few hours. So please make sure that you submit at least 48 hours before the deadline so that you have no technical issues and no problem with the IT platform. Next slide, please. Once the application page on the Funding and Tenders portal will open, so on the 18th of June, this is what it will look like in the submission system. As I mentioned earlier, please make sure that you download the specific Part B template, which you will find there on the left of the screen. Download also all the other templates, of course, the detailed budget table and the form for support to third countries. Make sure that you download the templates directly from this page and not from any other, so that you are sure to have the final and most recent version of these templates. At the top of the page, when you start filling in the data and adding partners and so on, there will be a number, as you can see here, of warnings that you may find. These warnings are not blocking issues. They are here to draw your attention to the fact that data might be missing from some of the forms that you will be submitting. So this is to help you. In the middle of the page there, you will see a part on the coordinator. So this is where the coordinator will enter information on themselves. And the coordinator will then be able to add partners. So either partners using the blue tab at the bottom of the page, or affiliated entities as well. So affiliated entities would be entities with a legal or capital link to a beneficiary. So this could be, for instance, a spin-off of a research center. It can be a subsidiary of a mother company, for instance. So this is where you will be able to explain all of this and to provide the data that would be relevant. You can also add, of course, associated partners. So this would be partners who would not be receiving money through the budget, through the project if ever it is funded, but you would still need to provide some information on them. No contacts, but still some information. And here I refer you to the general annexes if you want a full definition of what is an affiliated entity, an associated partner, and so on. Next slide, please. How to optimize your chances for success. So as I said, last-minute preparations are often reflected in a lower quality, which largely reduces the chances of success. So please make sure, and you have ample time, make sure that you start early and that you submit early. And as I said, you can always submit several times the same proposal. Download the templates from the submission system, as I mentioned, and start an early draft and submit on time, at least 48 hours before the call deadline. Make sure as well that your proposal is complete. So one section missing could make your proposal inadmissible or result in a lower score. This would be the case, as I mentioned, for instance, if you do not submit part of your proposal, for instance, the detailed budget table and so on. On the detailed budget table, I also forgot to mention, please use the template that is provided online. If you use your own template, your proposal will be deemed inadmissible. So please make sure that you use the template provided. In your Part A, address each section and all the sub-criteria in the Part B. Now here I'd like to say that each section in the proposal, so excellence, impact implementation, will be mirrored in the evaluation by our evaluators. So they will be assessing each of these parts. So do make sure that you give ample attention and details for each of these sections. Of course, be clear and explicit. Evaluators can only judge what they read. They cannot try to invent or decipher what you haven't said. So they have to judge your proposal based on what is written in it. And they also have limited time because we usually have quite a number of applicants. A little message to the consortium, so check the type of action to meet the minimum eligibility requirements when preparing the partnership. I remind you that these are innovation actions, so the minimum requirement would be one applicant, one entity from a member state, and at least 2 other entities, either from a member state or an associated country. These are the minimum requirements. There is no maximum. It's up to you to decide how many partners you want to include. Do bear in mind that it has to be manageable, of course, for the coordinator, if ever your project is, or your proposal is selected for funding. And of course, while you're designing and drafting your proposal, do keep always the topic description next to you so that you match the topic specific eligibility conditions and requirements as much as possible. Next slide, please. A few tips regarding the page limit, format, and font size. So keep the page limit for the Part B and the required format and font size, as I mentioned. So the page limit for Part B is 60 pages in our case for the cloud calls, for all 5 topics. And do bear in mind at the beginning of the template, in Part B template, you will find some requirements on formatting and font size and layout. Please do bear these in mind when you design your proposal, as I mentioned earlier. Do also keep an eye on the topic page for any topic-specific Q&A. Now, Q&As are what we are a way for us to convey information to applicants if ever there are some things that have been flagged to us as not clear or requiring more information. So do keep an eye on the topic page in case any of these are published. Any questions that you may have can be conveyed through what we call the RES, which is the Research Inquiry Service. So do contact them for any call-related questions if there are still things that are not clear. And there are also a number of videos available describing the procedures, the evaluation details, the use of the funding and tenders portal, and so on. So if you're not sure how to apply, how to use the portal, how we will then conduct the evaluation, please have a look at these videos. Finally, there are also a few webinars that you may find useful that provide more guidance on, and these are available in the events page of the portal. Next slide, please. Here, I'd like to mention what we call the NCPs, which are the National Contact Points of Horizon Europe. Basically, these are representatives from your country, so there should be one for each member state. And they are here to provide information and advice to applicants and beneficiaries. And the advantage is that they will provide information and support to you in your own language. So if you struggle a little bit with English, you may find also that it's very useful to contact them, and they can explain some concepts to you in your own language if needed. They will also provide guidance on choosing the relevant Horizon Europe topics. So in this case, I suppose if you are watching us, it's because you're interested in the cloud, but there are also other topics that you may be interested in under Horizon Europe. They can also provide you with assistance in partner search. So if you're looking to build a consortium, they can help you. And I will come back to this at the bottom of the slide, but we do have, or they do offer what we call a brokerage platform, networking platform, which allows you to matchmake with other entities that may be interested in similar topics as you, and therefore to contact them and create a consortium and see how you complement each other. NCPs will also offer training and tailor-made assistance on proposal writing. So some NCPs, and here I encourage you to contact your own NCP because they each have their own way of functioning, but many of them offer training and tailor-made assistance on proposal writing, which means that they can support you when you're drafting your proposal. They can also sometimes read it for you or put you in contact with people who can help you, who have the experience of writing proposals, even people who have been, for instance, funded in previous years. This would be through the national contact points. National contact points are also involved in the distribution of documentation, so they would have forms and guidelines and manuals to support you, again. They can offer advice on administrative procedures and contractual issues. They can help you, as I mentioned, in checking your proposal, so doing pre-screening. Sometimes some NCPs organize events with mock proposals, where you act either as evaluator or as a proposer, just to see what the different roles are and to put yourself in the shoes of the other party. They have very good knowledge of the funding and tender opportunities portal, so they can also help you to navigate through the different platforms. And finally, as I mentioned, they sometimes organize information activities, which can be info days or seminars or conferences. They have newsletters, websites, and as I mentioned, the brokerage or networking platform. And I've added here the link to help you to find also partners if needed. So I think that's my last slide. And I will hand over now to Francisco.
Thank you very much, Cecile. Wow, that was a very rich and fully packed with relevant information and practical information for potential applicants to the call. I'm sure, though, that they may have also questions, and they are going to be sending them through us. And I remind them again the opportunity they have to do it through a Slido, where they can enter the code, the hashtag ECCCH, and make arrive to us the questions, the doubts that they may have. And maybe without any further ado, we have plenty of time, but let's start the Q&A part of this info day. The very first question, and the one that is most voted by our viewers, we see it on top of the screen right now, the anonymous one. I read it out loud. How can we learn about the ECCCH standards? And that's a question that is clearly going to be answered by Richard.
Thank you for this question. Let's see if I can help a little bit in sorting this out. I would say that you can see this as in three layers, if you want. First of all, there's a lot of information about how the cloud platform will work in the call topics in the work program. This should already, you should take into account that your proposal will be assessed against primarily what is in the call topics. So this is something very important to take into account. The second is that, as I mentioned already, there is an expert report which can be useful in widening the information about what is behind the cloud initiative. But on a more detailed level, if you're looking for how will it actually be defined on a detailed level, this is something that the platform project is working on, and the platform project is responsible to define these standards. So this is something that will take shape in parallel to a certain extent to the execution of the project, which is a challenge in this entire initiative. But this is also a feature of how we have chosen to design the support of the establishment of the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage.
Thank you very much, Richard. Cecile has mentioned during her presentation the very important role of the national contact points. And I see precisely that the question coming now that I ask our colleagues to highlight, now it has moved out of the screen. It was a question from the Austrian national contact point, Michalis Tsatsanis. I think I can reproduce it by heart if you allow me to take the risk. It was a question about whether ECCOS, the consortium that is in charge of establishing the platform infrastructure for the cloud, can participate or is excluded from participation into this call, and how to ensure the level playing field. I hope I'm reproducing correctly the substance of that question. I take advantage to underline and to show our viewers how NCPs play a critical role. I mean, I see they try to keep updated and be able to provide updated information to their national constituencies, which is an excellent practice. Richard, do you want to comment on that question from Michalis, even if we don't see it?
I will give it a try, and maybe I don't have such a good memory as you, Paco, about how the question was formulated exactly. But let me underline that you should be very clear that it is by no means an advantage or a necessity to have partners from the ECCOS project in your consortium. The proposals will be evaluated based on the contents of the call topic in a totally unbiased way. There's also no prohibition for ECCOS partners to participate in proposals, but it's not an advantage. So I hope this answers at least partly the question. We do really think that this is a level playing field. And from the Commission side, we would really like to see a wide participation of many entities in these calls.
Thank you, Richard. The question of Michalis is finally visible there on top. The second one has already been answered. Let's go to the one that appears now at the bottom of the screen for us. Please clarify, sort of echoing some of the previous, please clarify the relation that the project idea tools developed, I understand under this call, must have with the ECCCH platform still under development and the ECCOS consortium. Richard.
Yes, thankfully. This is a very good question, and a question which we cannot answer in detail. What we have done is in the call topics, we do describe, I believe, clearly the intentions and the frame for how this should work. And if you read the call topics, you will also see that there's a certain, let's say, flexibility. You're not obliged to define in your proposal exactly how you will coordinate with the ECCOS project. but it is essential that this coordination is done well. So there has to be a certain, a clear intention and some flexibility in order for this to work. It will be a very complex initiative altogether, and we need all the funded projects to, as I mentioned, do their parts in making it all successful.
Thank you, Richard. There is a question about lump sum. Can you explain the changes, implications of lump sum in the implementation of the project? And that one is clearly for Cécile.
Yes, excuse me. I wouldn't say there are any implications for the implementation of the project itself. It's just a way of calculating the costs. So when I was talking earlier about the fact that you will need to submit a detailed budget table, this budget table will detail for every work package and every beneficiary the costs that you foresee. And then it will be up to the expert evaluators evaluating your proposal to see if these costs or foreseen costs align with the activities that you suggest to carry out. So for the implementation, there is no change in itself. You implement the project as for actual costs, just a way of calculating the cost.
Okay, thank you very much, Cécile. I remind the audience about the possibility of joining Slido with the code ECCCH, or also with the QR code that they may see from time to time on their screens, so that they can pose their question. The one that is coming now as the most voted one, are there, from Dr. Jochen Büchel, are there seed grants who support for some months and with this application process? I don't know if it's going to be shared among the two of you, but I would first give the floor to Cécile.
It depends, of course, what kind of grant you're looking for in what field. So I think for this kind of, for such questions, maybe the best person to contact would be the Research Inquiry Service, so the RES that I was mentioning earlier. And my slide has a link to the RES. So if you can't find them online, you will find the link in my slide. I don't know if Ricard, you want to add anything?
Maybe just to clarify, I could add that the European Commission through Horizon Europe does not offer such seed grants. It is in principle up to the applicants to support their application process themselves. But you may find such support in your local institutions, maybe some universities, research organizations, or national authorities, or others may offer some support, but not the European Commission.
And maybe your NCPs would also be someone to contact if you want this kind of seed money. If it exists, they would be in a better position to help you and to tell you where to look.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Next question in the list. The final portal shall be open and free to use. I understand is the portal of the cloud, not the funding and tenders portal, which is the entry point for your interactions as applicants and beneficiaries with Horizon Europe. So the final portal shall be open and free to use. How the future support will be handled? Is there any guarantee the data will not be lost? That's for Ricard.
Thanks for this interesting question, Lucas. What I can say is that it is not necessarily the case that the final portal will be open and free to use for everyone. It should be inclusive and available for all the cultural heritage researchers, cultural heritage institutions in Europe and associated countries. But it is one of the tasks of the ECCCCH project to develop a sustainable economic model for the cloud platform. And this also would be my answer to the second part of the question: how will the future support be managed? Is there a guarantee that the data will not be lost? This is one of the very important tasks of the ECCCCH project, precisely to design a long-term sustainable system to manage and let's say make the cloud long-term sustainable.
Thank you again, Richard. A question on technology readiness levels. Anonymous question, what are the initial and final TRLs of these 5 calls, these 5 topics? Richard.
Thanks again for this question. What I can say here is that we have not specified technology readiness levels in these 5 calls. And we have not done it for the previous calls under the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage Initiative either. And that is because we believe that the descriptions in the call topic should be sufficiently clear to understand to what level of maturity that the results of the project should reach. So no TRL levels established as in the call topics.
Okay, that's a clear question to a clear answer to a clear question. Let's move to the next one, most voted one, which concerns open source software. How can this go together with commercially sustainable solution or intellectual property right protection of digitized assets? Clarification, please. That's a request from our viewer. Richard?
Thanks again for an interesting question. And what I would say in this way, that the platform that we develop should be based on open source software and code. But this does not necessarily mean that everything on the platform is freely available. This is not specified. It's even explicitly said that it should be possible to regulate the access to establish owner rights of the data on the platform. So it's important to keep these 2 concepts apart, perhaps. It would mean, of course, that theoretically another party could use the software developed and establish a different cloud platform, but that is not an issue from our side. We support the general direction of the European Union and Horizon Europe to use open source software to the extent possible.
Thank you, Richard. Next question. Is it intended that each proposal for a topic develops tools and methods for all uses listed in the topic? Some uses are thematically quite far apart, is the comment from our viewer in this question. Richard.
Yes, and thanks for posing this question, because it's quite an important one. The answer is yes, that each proposal should respond to at least the specified uses under each call topic. The idea is that your proposal may develop more generic tools, but they should be specifically developed for at least these the use cases specified. And yes, in some cases they are thematically separated. In other cases they may be less, and much of this will probably depend on the approach that you as an applicant take in how you develop the tools.
Thank you again, Richard. The next question from Erika Fulop, if I can read well from here. Actually, I'm going to take now, I see the other one from her, because I think there is a connection between the 2. I'm going to start with the first one. I mean, they are both. I'm going to read them both at the same time. This is an explanation for the colleague handling the Slido. Good morning. My question is, if the platform structure is still in the planning and will depend on the selected proposals, how to plan on and with it? And then an example in the continuation of the question. Can we propose a website, database, structure, etc.? Would it be loosely connected to others, or there will be some specific parameters to adapt to? I think it's 2 questions, or a question in 2 moments that goes back again to the relations between these proposals and the platform that ECOS is going to be offering. Enrique, for you.
Yes, Erika, you're touching upon one of the basic characteristics of this, you could call it the design that we choose for the implementation effort of the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. The different projects will be running in parallel. This means that the platform structure, in the details of the platform structure, is being developed by the ECOS project while the application, while you're running, probably working on your application, but also in parallel to the execution of your project. So there will be a strong need to coordinate between the projects and have a certain measure of flexibility. This said, much of the choices that you take will not depend particularly on the detailed choices of the platform project. So, but you have to be able to adapt to the chosen data models, structures, etc. of the platform project.
Thank you, Rikard. We can then remove and consider as answers the two questions from Erika. Perfect. I see another question from Michalis Tsachanis is coming on top. This one on lump sum, therefore for Cecile, but I read it out loud for everyone. Since payments are released only after full completion of work packages, is it not advisable to have short work packages so as to ensure a continuous money flow?
I would say this is up to you to design the proposal and then the project as you see fit. You don't want to over-multiply the work packages either. You want it to be coherent. But yes, do bear in mind that the payment will not be released indeed until full completion of the work package. As I said, though, do not multiply them overly.
Thank you, Cecile. Moving then to an anonymous question. Creating, enriching and refining annotated bibliographies and or documenting the results of field work such as archaeological or paleontological excavations. This comes between brackets. I'm not sure if maybe that's also connected with the previous question. Difficult to assess. I'm trying to see. Not clear if it's connected to the last one. The digital assets must be already in the archive of the applicant. No. Okay, let's maybe not focus on that one and go to the evaluation one, now that this one on top. Evaluation without bias. That's a quote, and then the correspondent says, but a bias will exist because ECO's partners know how the ECCCH platform will work. Won't it? I understand this question is addressed towards Rikard.
Yes, and possibly also to Cecile. What you have to take into account here is that the proposal will be evaluated against the call topic, not against what the ECOS project will be publishing until the deadline of the call. So there will not be a bias in this sense. But of course, it can be a good idea for applicants to contact the ECOS consortium, as, for example, through this email address that we have provided, in order to understand better, to clarify details, etc. But that is totally up to you. It will not affect the evaluation.
I don't know if Cecile wants to elaborate a bit more on the evaluation.
No, I think
that's fine. Very good. Next question on FSTP, financial support to third parties in the jargon for Horizon Europe. Is the financial support to third parties expected only for testing the tools developed by the consortium? Development of new tools, technologies is an option. I understand. Is it an option to be financed through the FSTP modality? who is willing to take that one? Richard?
I can give it a try. So the first thing I would like to highlight is that the financial support to third parties is not expected, it is a possibility. In case when you develop your proposal, you think that this can make the proposal stronger. We can imagine that it could be used to involve users which are not part of the original consortium, both in the development and in the testing of the tools developed. So through the entire process of the project. And I interpret that the second part of the question is a different question, may be wrong, but the answer here would be that yes, the development of new tools and technologies is definitely possible under these CAL topics.
And if I may just add something, the financial support to third parties is limited to 15% of the overall budget. So do bear that in mind as well. And there is a limit of 60,000 euros per entity.
Thank you, Cecile, for that clarification. Next question then. Should key partners from ECOS be included in the consortium of a new proposal in order to credibly demonstrate how alignment of goals and tools is in place? Let's complete the question. Richard?
Well, it is not. They should not. They may, but it's not necessary. And this goes back to what I answered previously to another question, that your proposal have to take into account what is written in the CAL topic, the requirement, etc., what is expected there, but this is against which your proposal will be judged, not against what the ECOS project has published. So if it is a possibility to include partners from ECOS in your consortium, but it's not necessary, and it will not whether strengthen or penalize the evaluation of your proposal.
Thank you, Richard. That was quite clear, I believe. Next question concerning the ECOS platform again. Where can we follow the progress of the ECOS platform, and how regularly will these be published? What can we expect before January 2025, which is the deadline of the call? Richard.
Well, what I can say here is that the Commission is not in charge of what the ECOS project does. This is up to the ECOS project. They are working according to their project plan, so we cannot promise when what will be published. But it is reasonable to expect that the project website will be published, as I mentioned, sometime after the summer and well before the January 25 deadline. And it's also reasonable to expect that on this website there will be useful information that you may want to have a look at as applicants. But we cannot say more about how often or what information will be published there.
Thank you, Richard. Next question, as a layman, I find it in this field, I find it interesting. Do digital assets must be already in the archive of the applicant, or can an applicant foresee a digitization work package/task? Richard.
The correct answer to this question would be that it depends. In principle, when you look into the CAL topics and the work program, you will see that the idea is not a priori to fund digitization of objects. The idea is to fund the development of tools of different sorts to support the collaborative cloud platform. But possibly, if you can argue for this, that an important part of this process is to digitize some assets. I cannot say that it's not possible. It is not the main focus of the topics.
Thank you. Next question about the small disciplines. The calls are about tools, not specific disciplines. How can small disciplines like music take part in the calls? Music, sound, data is important for the cloud. Richard.
Yes, thanks for this question. I would like to take the opportunity to highlight that you're perfectly right. Music and sound are indeed important for the cloud because it represents or may represent a kind of heritage that can be represented in a digital form. However, the calls, as you, the person posing this question mentioned, are not discipline specific. So you can be, as a representative of, let's say, music, of course you can take part in a consortium developing tools under one of these calls. That's it's perfectly feasible. Depending on the focus that the consortium chooses, you may put more or less emphasis on music or sound. That's up to the applying consortium. So it's not at all impossible to participate as a representative of one of the disciplines, but the call topics are not discipline specific.
If I may just add as well, I would encourage this person who is asking this question also to have a look at our more, let's say, traditional cluster 2 calls, which are published on a yearly basis. The next one, we just finished the 2024 one. The next one will probably be towards the end of 2025. So do keep an eye. And what I call traditional calls, let's say it's their heritage, democracy, and transformations. And we sometimes have topics linked to music. So do keep an eye on those.
Thank you both. Next question. For any application under this call, can you give information on participation types and the budget of a view, SME, consultant, and partner positions? Thanks. Thanks to you for the question. I don't know if Cecile, you want to give it first try to this one?
Yes. So there is no limit, let's say, or nobody is excluded, let's put it that way. Whether you're an SME, a consultant, whether you work for a private entity, a public organization, a university, whatever you are eligible. The only eligibility and admissibility criteria would be the representation by country. So as I mentioned earlier, for an innovation action, we need a minimum of 1 entity from a member state and a minimum of 2 more entities, either from member states or associated countries. So minimum 3 in total. No maximum, as I mentioned earlier. But what kind of entity, that is totally up to you. No restrictions.
Thank you, Cecile. Maybe I will add here, not so much a reply, but as an information point, in the funding and tenders portal in any case, if it's a question about having access to data on participation, not only on this call, but in any call funded by Horizon Europe, all is fully transparently published. So when a call is evaluated under the different topics, you will see which have been the projects funded, the composition, and then through the dashboards, the Horizon dashboards, the research stakeholder community out there can see all the data, all the wealth of data around the participation in Horizon calls, structure in terms of country, origin, type of entity, budget, etc. Let's move to the next question. How much new projects need to be connected to results and tools already achieved, released by 2023 approved projects? I'm not sure, but that I leave it to you, Rikard, if they are referring only to ECOS or else also to the other 2 projects that were funded under the 2023 call. But
yes, I suspect that this question refers to the projects approved under the 2023 Collaborative Cloud Call and not to other projects on the Horizon Europe. The answer here should be in the call topic, I think. Above all, the new projects need to be coordinated with the platform project, which is leading the entire initiative. This is, as we have touched upon many times already. The other projects funded under the 23 call are working on other kinds of tools for the cloud platform. Of course, there may be points of interest to connect between these projects. So it's possible to contact them or to see what can be built upon here. But a priori, we believe from the Commission point of view that the main point that you have to take into account is the coordination need with the platform project, and then foresee the possibility or the capacity to coordinate technically with the projects that will be funded in the future. So it's not something that you have to foresee exactly at application stage how to do it, but you should foresee that this is an activity that you need to do.
Thank you very much. I see that questions keep on coming in. There is a strong interest out there among our audience. The next one concerns the software. All software should be compliant with data model and software development guidelines of ECOS. Is it guaranteed that this info will be available before deadline of the call in January 25? Richard.
A good question again, and the answer here is, as you may suspect, is no. We don't have a guarantee when this information will be available. So this is a requirement that you would need to plan for in your proposal. You will need to foresee how you will comply with this requirement, but you cannot count on all this information being available before submitting your application. This is what I've tried to highlight a couple of times, the need for a certain flexibility in the projects. It's very important.
Thank you, Richard. Next question sounds to me interesting a priori. Could we merge the cultural heritage and ecotourism sites in our project? Could we develop API tools for connecting cultural heritage sites by mountain bike route? Richard.
Well, I'm afraid this is a question that I cannot easily say yes or no to. You would have to see under the call topic that you choose to develop your proposal if this is something that would fit. There's no, we encourage, of course, to reuse both platforms, technologies, and knowledge that has already been developed to the extent that this makes sense. But this said, what you have to do as a proposal or project under these call topics is to respond to the requirements of this call topic. So if the best way to do this is connecting to mountain bike routes, I cannot say that it's impossible, but it would need to fit in the proposal.
Thank you, next question. Existing projects are eligible. I'm not sure if I understand that first statement. But if existing software in prior project is not open source, commercial, but new ECCCH elements will be, is this admissible?
Let me see if I can try to try to start giving an answer to this question. First of all, a project cannot be eligible to apply for another project. this is not the case. We will never allow to fund the same thing more than once. But partners of an existing project may participate in new proposals. This is perfectly eligible. If you say that existing software is not open source, but the new will be, is this admissible? Well, there is an attempt to describe this criteria clearly in the conditions of the call topic, and what you should refer to is the text in these conditions, but simplified, we very strongly encourage to use open source throughout the cloud initiative and in all the call topics, including in the basic platform. But if there are very strong arguments for not using open source, it can be admissible, but under certain conditions which are well specified. So should be really an exception, and there should be very, very strong reasons for not using open source.
Thank you, Richard. Now it comes a question that targets one of the topics, one of the 5 topics. Why combine creating bibliographies, and documenting the results of fieldwork such as archaeological or paleontological excavations in this very same topic?
Yes, a good question, and here you can put the blame on the European Commission. We have worked in you could say involving many different services and persons in trying to find the best way to package what needs to be done in this call. The result are these 5 call topics that we have presented today, and now this is what you have to work on. The reason was that in this process we judge this to be a feasible combination.
Okay, thank you. I see that there is a question that is split in 3, but it's going to be difficult if we don't have the one that is a second in the middle. Maybe we can try to tackle the question from Stuart James from Durham University first, if we could highlight that one, so as to make a space for the 3 questions to come together. Perfect. Let's go to the question of Stuart James then. Following questions on the data model. Can we plan to extend the data model to support more specific problems, possibly through collaboration or externally?
It is not impossible, but if you see in the development of your project or in your proposal, if you see that it will be necessary to somehow extend the data model of the collaborative cloud platform, you have to discuss this, and if it is done, do it together with the platform project consortium. In order to, it would mean basically that you would update the data model which underlies the platform. I hope this responds to the question.
Thank you, Richard. Now I can see the continuation of the split in 3 questions. And now I have all of them on the screen. I'm going to read them out loud. In order for the tools to align with ECOS, they should follow some technical requirements. Since the project just started, I'm wondering how it will be possible to create a tool that really aligns with the main platform, and thus we end up with 20 different platforms and tools, each with different standards. And the concluding one, which is what has created the problems with digitization of cultural heritage and infrastructures in the first place 20, 30 years ago. Richard.
Yes, what I can say to answer this question is that it is necessary, of course, to align the tools with the technical requirements, which is being developed by the ECOS platform. All of it will not be ready before the deadline of this call, which means that within your project, you have to foresee the sufficient flexibility to adapt to the extent that this is necessary. This said, we believe that many of the technical choices, probably most of the technical choices you do, will not be directly depending on the details of the standards developed by the platform, which will not be available before the deadline. But it is, as we have mentioned, a challenge and also possibly an opportunity that we will have the projects running in parallel. There will be strong needs of coordination and cooperation between the projects, and this is something that we have underlined, I believe, in the call topics, that is very necessary, and which will be taken into account in the evaluation to the extent that you foresee the possibility for such cooperation and flexibility in your project plans.
Thank you very much, Richard. We have then tackled the 1 of 3, 3 of 3, and 2 of 3. A question on lump sum. Does the lump sum use require work packages to not longer last for the whole duration of the project? Let me try to rephrase it. Does lump sum require work packages that do not last longer than the whole duration of the project?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but let's say if you mean that work packages can no longer last during the whole duration of the project, well, yes, they can. The only thing is that the budget related to that work package would be released at the end of the project. So I think that's what you meant.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And for the moment, the last question that is queuing to get an answer. Can you reveal, some more are coming, can you reveal the tools that will be developed by the 2 million calls of 2023? It would be helpful to know. The reveal seems as it is a secret. There is nothing secret. I think if the 2 projects are signed, as I believe they are, the information is already available through the Funding and Tenders portal. But Richard, I leave you reply to that.
Indeed, Paco, this is correct. The information about the projects is available publicly on the Cordis platform, for instance. These 2 projects will start their activities on the 1st of September, so a little bit later than the platform project. And as you may interpret from the 2023 call topics, they will work on digitization tools, advanced digitization tools for the cloud platform. To have more information about what they will work on, I would need to ask you to look at the project description and in time possibly contact the projects and coordinators, etc.
Thank you. There is a follow-up question on the one we tackled a while ago that was concerning one of the topics of 2024, the one proposing 2 far apart use cases. Why do you fund 2 projects that will both create applications for bibliographies and for documenting the results of field work?
Yes. Should I? I'll give this a try also.
Yes, please.
This is again a choice by the European Commission to fund 2 projects working under the same call topic. And the underlying thinking behind this is that we are still working on with innovation actions. There are no clear prescribed solutions. This is not about implementation. It is about innovation and development. So our judgment is that it is worthwhile to have 2 projects, 2 different projects working on the similar issues to together come up with stronger and more, let's say, better and more robust solutions.
Thank you, Richard. Next question. Could ECOS issue high-level guidance about their standards earlier, so we have some idea of what they will entail. I'm tempted to give it a try to this one and say, with that interest of at your end, go and hit the email that Ricard was proposing a while ago that ECOS has made available, because what these calls are trying to create at the end of the day is a interest in the research community and the practitioners out there and the professionals, and generate that type of interaction among you all. But Ricard, please.
Yes, thanks for this question, and I can say the same thing as Paco. I'm sure yes, they can do it, and to the extent that they have the capacity to do it, and they probably will do what is possible to help with this. So you can contact them by this email address, and soon there will also be a website available with more information.
Thank you, Ricard. Next question. In the call topics, you mentioned semi-automated a number of times. Does this mean that you are envisaging the use of artificial intelligence in tool or method development? Ricard.
Yes, indeed, we do. In many or most of the call topics, we do envisage the use of AI technologies. However, I would say almost most cases, the choice of approach will be up to the applicants to argue for what is best choice in each case. But we do envisage AI tools to semi-automatize a number of processes which are currently judged to be unnecessarily manual or work intensive.
Thank you, Ricard. I see that one of our viewers, is trying to pass a longer question in different portions. I'm going to try to read out loud at least the first and second one. Maybe the third will appear in the meantime. The first one reads, trying again. He already posted a question before around open source. We have existing innovation project that meets aim of call 4, topic 4, I understand, in a limited way. We want to fund the expansion. I go for the second one, or the continuation. We want to fund the expansion for greater public good. The existing project has proprietary software, but £3 million head start on the aims of call 4. We are designing a way to leverage, and then I'm missing, excellent, leverage existing progress and the sustainability that the commercial dimension allows to reach a broader public good and to integrate with ECCCH platform with the cloud. We understand, and I go to the fourth, that existing initiatives not EU funded are eligible, but the open source requirement is not clearly enough specified in this situation. Thanks very much to the colleagues handling the Slido questions, because we managed to read the 4 of them. Ricard, you want to give it a try?
I will give it a try, yes. I understand that this is quite concrete question regarding to a concrete situation, which is challenging perhaps to transmit in Slido. And from the response we can give, I think, cannot go far beyond what is defined in the call topics regarding open source. There are specific cases, if there are very good reasons to deviate from the open source criteria, it is possible, but it has to be very good reasons for it, and you have to comply to a number of conditions, such as that all the users of the cloud platform need to have free access to this software without a cost and for an unlimited period of time. For example, there are more conditions specified. So you will need to have a look at these conditions, judge if you think that the reasons are for using the non-open source software that you already have developed is strong enough, and then argue for this. We do encourage, as is mentioned here, the reuse of what has already been done also outside of the EU-funded projects, of course. But the open source criteria is an important one for us. So there are only with strong reasons and under specified conditions that it's possible to deviate from this criteria.
Thank you, Richard. We can then, voila, those questions have been tackled. The next one, will the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage be also connected somehow with Partnership for Virtual Worlds? Are you supposed to include immersive technologies to the platform?
Maybe I can say something about this. Whether there will be a partnership on virtual worlds and how this partnership will look like, we don't know at this moment. On the other hand, if the platform will have to work with immersive technologies, yes, you can see this in some of the call topics that it's clearly specified. It should be able to deal with immersive technologies. So possibly there could be there could be reasons to somehow connect the platform with a future partnership on virtual worlds, but for us it is too early to say, and this is by no means a requirement for applicants.
Thank you, Richard. Next question, for the moment the last one, unless our viewers continue sending us more questions. I read it out loud. Regarding the field recording topic, at what level is the recording envisaged? Is this detailed full field recording or just site summary level? Richard.
I suspect that this has to do with the use case of documenting, for example, archaeological excavations, but I may be mistaken. Here you would have to look a little bit deeper into the call topic, where we are trying to describe to what level we expect this use case to work. We don't specify exactly a detailed level, but the tool that is to be proposed must, let's say, go far beyond and really be helpful in the work of the professionals that work on these activities. So have a little bit a deeper look into the call topic and consider the criteria that we specify, and this hopefully will give some guidance on this question.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe that we have for the moment no other question queuing in Slido. And it seems stabilized at that point. So in any case, I'm sure, there is one more coming. I was going to say that in any case, if you get other questions coming to your mind later on, I was going to remind the other sources of information that we have at your disposal. But let's take those that are coming in. The EC funds, 2 projects on creating tools for bibliographies to obtain more robust results, but only one to create the overall ECCCH infrastructure. Why this approach?
Yes, there are some questions regarding the let's say, design choices of the European Commission in this case. I would first of all like to emphasize that these are choices that have been made and cannot be reversed. The reason for choosing to fund only one infrastructure project is that to the judgment of the European Commission, it would not have made sense to have 2 projects working in parallel on this. It would, but it's to the judgment of the European Commission. While when we talk about the user tools for the platform, our judgment is that it would make sense to have two projects working under the same call topics in order, as I mentioned, that possibly create more robust results, more diversity, and have different angles on this.
Thank you, Richard. A question that elaborates again, I understand, on the two projects that were funded also in the 2023 call. Can further details be provided on the two digitization process that have been funded so we can identify those in the portal? Not sure we remember those by heart, Richard.
It is a good question how which could be the best way to communicate these details. Maybe I would pass this question to Cécile.
Yes, I believe if you search for ECCCH 2023, you would already find the results there, and they would be on the platform as well.
Yeah. So in the portal, certainly, the transfer between the back office tools and Cordis is not immediate. It takes some days, but in the portal, as soon as they are signed, what you will need to do, basically maybe in the filtering areas of the portal, is making sure that you are asking also for closed calls, because that call is already closed. By default, I think is the forthcoming and the open ones that are listed. You need to click also the closed ones so that you put ECCCH in the topic field, and then you would get the reference of those topics, and then at the bottom of that page, you would have information on the selected projects. Sorry, we don't remember those details by heart, but not easy. Next question, and I think Rika is going to like this one. What is the relationship, I understand, between the ECCCH with Data Space going to be? Data Space is developing AI for Culture for Humanities, AI. Are these tools going to be available on the cloud?
A good question. Thanks for this one. Yes, there is going to be a close relationship with, I understand that the question refers to the European Common Data Space for Cultural Heritage, because there are many data spaces. Whether the specific tools, AI for Culture for Humanities, will also be available on the cloud is a question that I cannot answer at this moment. It is possible, maybe, but it will depend on whether it makes sense or not for the different platform. And the same, by the way, is also true for the tools that will be developed under this call. Some of them possibly could be made available also for the data space. But we leave this up to applicants to investigate and define if it is something that makes sense in the particular case of each project. Since there are different kind of infrastructures, not everything can be used on both platforms. And I must say that the two platforms will be interconnected. So possibly you may take advantage of a tool which is hosted on one platform for working on data, which is hosted on the other.
Thank you, Richard. Next question is most likely for Cécile. Regarding the project participation type, is it possible to utilize from the project budget as I guess for a consultant, for an SME, which gives software development service?
Yes, I think this is linked to the previous question. We received a question that was
participation types.
Also linked to this. I would say yes, it is, with the caveat that, of course, it's up to the evaluators then to evaluate whether this service is really needed and the nature of the service. So yes, it's possible, but of course to be evaluated.
Maybe behind the question there's also a question about subcontracting. I understand maybe not subcontracting some services, which is always an option under the Horizon Europe rules, provided that those are justified. Okay, next question then. Is the possibility to propose solutions working with various EU languages encouraged, multilingualism then at stake, or this will have no impact at the evaluation of the project?
So let me try to sort this question out, because it also touches upon an important aspect of the cloud platform. So in terms of the content of the cloud platform, that the kind of data that should be able that it should be able to manage and interconnect and interpret correctly, it is indeed necessary to be able to work in many different languages, and this is also specified in the call topics that touch upon these questions. But on the terms of the cloud platform itself, if we need interfaces in different languages, this is not specified in the call topics. So in this sense, it is not a characteristics that will be evaluated, more than in the sense that it may contribute to the wider adoption, for example, of the platform, which is a criteria. So this is where we are now. We have not, from the side of the Commission, prescribed whether that the platform should cover all official EU languages or should cover 2 or 3 or 1. This is something that one of the many questions that will have to be settled by the consortium developing the basic platform.
Thanks, Richard. Another question has just landed. Are applications expected to cover the full scope of a call? It is to cover all the bullets, even if this requires combinations of quite heterogeneous methods. That's for you, Richard.
Yes, I'm afraid yes. The answer is yes. As an applicant, and this does not mean, of course, that all individual partners have to work on all different aspects, but as a total, the project consortium has to address the full scope of the call topic, to cover all the bullet points and respond to all the expectations, even if it should require heterogeneous methods.
Okay, thank you, Richard. We are still some 15 minutes ahead of the end of the time we have allocated for this info day, info morning, info session, but we are not obliged to consume the whole time if our audience is, for the moment, happy, as it seems they are, with the replies provided. If that's the case, if there are no more questions, I could say then that we are reaching the end of this morning session, Info Morning on the call 2024 for the European Collaborative Cloud for Cultural Heritage. We hope you found it interesting. From the number of questions and the different angles they took, I believe there was quite some excitement out there on this call. Interesting and most importantly, useful for you. Of course, while preparing your applications, when you start working on them, you will have more questions, that's for sure. No worries. We or Cecile and Ricard will not be here to reply to those questions of yours, but you have, as it was mentioned by Cecile during her presentation, the Research Inquiry Service available through the Funding and Tenders portal, where you can send your questions and they will reach, if they are of a thematic nature, they will reach the services behind the preparation of the call. If they are of a more practical question on the application, they will also then be addressed to those who can provide you with a relevant reply. And you have also, and we mentioned this already a couple of times, the network of national contact points, your national contact points back in your national context, that are there for you, to guide you, to provide you with pointers and where the relevant information can be found for you. let me conclude then by thanking very much Cecile and Ricard for making themselves available to guide you through this information day. Nothing else from us today. Thank you very much also to all of you for your attention, for your interest, for your active engagement with your questions. And of course, from the three of us, best of luck with the preparation of your proposals. Thank you very much for your interest. Bye-bye.